So we're on Trash Planet, aka Tuchanka, which is
I keep expecting a
completely different from every other Trash Planet.
Yeah, it's even got Skags. Looks, it's got Skags. Look at that.
Oh, hey, I found.
Whenever
some,
I see Skags, I think about
torches.
what Morden says. Or I think it's Morden, where someone has been sleeping with a skag, right? And they got some sort of STD that those kind.
Yes.
Or it's either that or it's like a vermin of some kind. I can't remember. And so I would go online and I'd find all of these message board posts about, oh, who do you think has been sleeping with a skag? And it's always come down to Jack. Everyone thinks it's Jack.
Everyone has pictures
I want to
of
believe
it being Jack. It's
I want to believe.
And there's pictures.
I want to believe that it's Miranda.
So you know what's cool?
Me too.
What the hell happened there? I was standing next to those guys, and it was like, oh, you can't charge, because I guess you can't do that. What the fuck?
Okay, before we go much further, is that what's cool?
Yes, that is what's cool, is when Charge says, haha, no cover? Yeah, right.
I was too busy talking about fan art to pay attention to you dying. So.
Yeah.
So, yeah, back to the main point, the game looks like Borderlands now. I guess BioWare decided that they were going to change their strategy from aping a reasonably good third-person shooter to aping a bad first-person shooter. And to counter the inevitable comments, Borderlands is not a bad game, but it is a bad shooter.
Yeah.
It's also kind of a bad game.
Yeah.
It's also bad.
You know, every member of the spoiler warning crew, every member of the spoiler warning crew played that game, and all of us came to the same conclusion, which is this is interesting for about half as much game as exists.
Well, about half
Which
as
is
much
rare
campaign
for
as
all of
exists, which
us
is
to
a quarter
come
as
to
much
the same
game.
conclusion.
I don't think we care enough about guns. I think that's our problem. Maybe if we cared more
That's
about guns,
probably
then
it.
we'd think it was a better game.
You know, I mean, I love Diablo 2, and Borderlands has the same sort of loot mechanics, but it's just not as interesting.
It's not as deep either because there's no.
Oh
armor,
shit,
it's
not one of
all
these
guns.
dudes. Fuck you.
I saw through the gun
Go away.
making thing too, because they're like, oh, there's like 1 billion guns in this game. And I was like, yeah, you just put a scope on a shotgun and call it a different gun. Good job. Proud of you. Real proud.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
this is a segue, but this is in a sense going off topic by moving back to the main topic, which is Mass Effect 2.
You villain.
Since I haven't actually played Mass Effect 2, and you know, if I'm being totally honest, I don't get 100% of the storyline, like when we're commenting over the dialogue. It really becomes striking how much of this game looks exactly the same to me. I mean, it's almost like it's following like a soap opera type formula, where you land on a planet that's slightly different than the last planet you were on. You talk to some people, then you start moving from point A to point B while shooting a bunch of dudes who are hiding behind cover. Then you do some security puzzles, then you have another conversation, then you go back to the ship.
That body, human.
You just opened a can of worms that I don't think you intended to, but one of the biggest criticisms of this game is that it's just a soap opera, or to be more to the point, just a romance simulator.
They're trying to cure the genophage.
So here's an interesting,
I don't think anyone besides
Science
Town
point.
Hall claims that.
No, there are a lot of people who call it a romance simulator, a space romance simulator.
Were they paying
I
attention
actually-
during all of the shooting we just did?
peaks and valleys.
I don't mind that formula. I mean, that's been the BioWare MO. I mean, they just sort of made it a little more firm in this game. In that once you touch down, you're okay, now you're going to do this quest. And then you'll come out the other side. But a lot of the BioWare games have followed this very formulaic pattern, and I've never minded it that much.
Well, like in Mass Effect, I mean, if you think about it, a lot of the planets, you would land and you would like do some intrigue and like figure out who's on what side, and like, okay,
you know,
the thing I'm
right,
thinking of is
there's a little more branching.
Yeah.
There was more branching in Mass Effect 1.
And often it takes a lot more time and a lot more dialogue and a lot more like side quests that don't involve any combat for you to get to the point where you start going down a linear corridor and shooting dudes. And then after that, there'll be another long sequence of not shooting dudes.
Heads up, it's best renegade interrupt in the game.
I have never seen not this. Like I tried. I'm like, I'm gonna see what happens if you let the renegade interrupt run out.
He just keeps talking and talking and talking and talking. It does.
But that means you have to do the renegade interrupt. That's not a renegade interrupt. That's just like, I just do it.
Does it give you a Paragon really chance? Does like the Paragon get to interrupt
No, it's just a super long renegade chance as he gives this speech.
No, it can't go on forever.
You will find only hardened, blood-packed veterans. Tempered by savagery.
Well, if there's one thing we love in spoiler warning, it's showing the really long, boring parts of a game. So
let's do it. I want to see. Let's ride this out and see how long. I'll time it here. From the moment it pops up.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, you'll have to cue us because we want to delay.
Now.
Well, I'm just gonna go when the renegade interrupt appears, when I start seeing the red flashy.
Okay, here it is.
There it is. Okay. So,
it's like, come on, press the button. Push that button.
To do it.
And to make
you really want to make this guy stop talking, right?
To make this renegade a little more difficult. Well, the south side of Chicago is the baddest part of town. And if you go down there, you better just beware of a man.
Oh, there it is. There it is. How long was that?
30 seconds. That was 30 seconds.
Okay, now reload and do it again. But this time with the renegade interrupt.
And again.
I think that's gonna happen anyway.
Yep.
Yep.
This time I'll sing Barbie Girl.
Wow.
I almost
so
had
close.
it.
Yeah.
You almost elbowed your way to victory.
Almost. The elbow finally gave
get
out.
that elbow in there.
Yeah, I never had to fight all those guys because I always did I always got bored with the renegade interrupt and just did it. Even on my Paragon run through, I was just bored.
30
I don't want
seconds.
Why is this? Why is that considered renegade? I hate this idea. Like you have to be all fair. Oh no, it's renegade to like shoot a guy when he's open. No, Paragon, you have to wait. You have to let him know. You got to give the signal, and then he can.
You got to be a gentleman. You've got to draw your sword and. Yeah. So the thing we just passed twice with that human, is something I wanted to mention. It's sort of kind of them trying to make a justification for why humans are special by saying that humans have a huge genetic diversity compared to other races. But humans don't have a massive genetic diversity. In fact,
if I flee, I might trip over the dozen Krogan.
Humans have a very tiny genetic diversity. Incredibly small compared to that of chimpanzees or other apes.
Right, but in the Mass Effect universe, all the other aliens look almost exactly alike. And meanwhile, you have short humans, tall humans, fat humans, you know, people with red hair. You'll have all these differences, people with big noses. It was basically BioWare's way of saying, we recycle the same models a lot, and here's why.
I was about to make that joke. Brought it home for me, Seamus. You brought it home.
But of course, in the Mass Effect universe, humans don't have a lot of diversity because they are all the same model. It's not like you see short people or tall people or fat people or people with tiny breasts or huge breasts. Everybody has the same breasts Shepard does. And I just talked over that dude being burned alive, and that was really
delicious Krogan burger, only $5.99.
Can't target them.
I can't get charged to work on any of these guys. There we go.
I'm glad that Shepard loudly announces it.
I'm gonna take cover back here.
I can't hit the other guys. Their cover is completely working.
As long as they keep doing this exact thing, I'll have no way to attack them whatsoever.
Shepard,
I like how you looted that container.
Out punch Krogan with her elbow.
Oh, okay, there's a ramp. I was gonna ask, how are you gonna get down from there?
I liked how in the middle of that fight you looted. You're like, I can't wait till after this fight is over to find out what's in the container.
Must get more metagel.
You're like Reginald Cuthbert looting someone's medicine cabinet for drugs while fist fighting a dude.
Useful data. One moment. Genetic sequences. Hormone mutagens is still steady. Protein chains, live tissue, clone tissue.
So
Very thorough. Standard treatment vectors. Avoiding
this mission is probably the most interesting one. You're trying to convince Morden that
hate to see that.
How can you agree with using the genophage?
He was wrong to use the genophage. Should we try to do that?
Not due to genophage. Nuclear winter.
I don't know. Renegade or Paragon? That's
yeah,
I'm
open to either. I'm open.
I mean,
to
Renegade
either.
is agreeing with Morden.
I think either one is a really interesting choice. It's not like the other parts of the game where it's like, oh, make this interesting choice or shoot somebody in the face. Or make this interesting choice, or just like lose out on some loot. This one is basically a philosophical question with no right answer.
Yeah, I think you get the same idea whether or not you're Paragon or Renegade. The Paragon option just makes it so you kind of argue with him.
Krogan committed war crimes, refused to negotiate. Turian defeat not complete. Krogan
well, I like going for the Paragon option in this case because it makes Morden argue for his point.
Us or them. No apologies for winning. Wouldn't have minded peaceful solution.
Most people wouldn't be so casual about
us or them. That's really interesting.
Much more difficult.
And no apologies for winning. I like that. That's a very important point. It's not that we're the bad guys. It's that we won. Is his point of view, which is true. Oh, you killed the other. Well, they were trying to kill us. I mean, that's war.
1 in 1,000. Perfect target. Optimal growth. Like gardening.
You're saying you were working just as hard to keep their population from falling?
Yes.
Like gardening.
Like gardening. That's good. That's good characterization right there.
Genetic structure further.
I was listening to a podcast, I can't remember what it was, but they likened him to a Nazi doctor. And I can kind of see the similarities. Right. And it's really easy. It's too easy to compare, like, that kind of
yeah, that's a dangerous
Nazis,
one because
but it's dangerous, right?
Statistical analysis
yeah, it's dangerous because of course the Jews weren't sweeping across Europe threatening to kill every single human being on Earth, which was the Krogan problem.
Resources thrown at us. Got anything we wanted.
So,
pretty important.
I mean,
yeah, is there a Godwin's Law video game?
Wanted to heal people.
Yeah, well, you could make the case that what he did was unethical, but I do think the Nazi comparison is unfair, simply because the Krogan were such an aggressive threat.
Hard to sleep some nights.
Whereas
now
the Nazi point of view was just perspective; it wasn't reality.
Your old team members?
No.
Yeah.
All changed with deployment. Made test drop on isolated Krogan clan, hit rest of Tuchanka when results were positive. End of project. Separate ways. Watching it end, watching.
And now I'm sure that we've engendered no controversy whatsoever and won't have to deal with any kind of awful.
I think that we handled that fine, Reds. I think we handled that just fine.
No, I've been around the internet too long. I am too cynical. I think the moment somebody said Nazi, we're dealing with. I thought it was
worth bringing up because it never crossed my mind because I never made that connection because the Krogans were actually spreading at an alarming rate and causing a lot of havoc. Whereas the Nazis were wrong.
Yeah.
They were just wrong.
Yeah, I agree. It's not like it's not the comparison that's being made is perhaps easy, but perhaps just a little bit too easy. Like it's too convenient. It's not like there's no real equivalency.